Hi, welcome back to another recap of Life After Lockup, Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And we're going to cover episodes 2 and 3 because I forgot about episode 2 and I feel like we can't really just skip an episode if I'm covering the whole show. So here you go. So I'm going to quickly go over episode 2 first, and then we'll go into this week's episode, which aired, I think, yesterday, which I'm really excited to talk about because it got juicy. So last week in episode 2, Gypsy was still freaking out that each PO, like one from Missouri and one from Louisiana, they were giving her 2 different sets of instructions. She's so confused as to which one she's supposed to listen to. And she's worried that if she listens to one of them, then the other one's going to send her back to jail. So she's freaking out, understandably. Her lawyer is still there. He's trying to calm her down. He's like, don't worry, we're going to figure this out. The PO from Missouri calls again. And he or she tells her that she can leave for Missouri tomorrow instead of right now. So everybody's relieved. And now Gypsy can get some sleep before her 13-hour drive back to Louisiana. I think I got that right. So Gypsy, her stepmom, and her stepsister Mia, they have a little girl chat. Gypsy tells them that she consummated her marriage with Brian, and they're all like, ooh, we're so happy for you. How was it? She was like, it was great. And then Mia pulls her to the side and wants to know if she's on birth control or what kind of preventative measures is she taking, or does she want to have kids? Gypsy tells her, I've always wanted to be a mother. That was my dream, but I feel like it would be kind of bad timing if I were to have kids right now. So we're going to wait. We're using protection right now. So Mia kind of just gives her moral support. She's like, okay, if you ever want to go to the OBGYN, check out your situation with your eggs and know what your options are, just let me know. The next day, Gypsy and Ryan are on their way to Louisiana. They stop by a drive-through fast food place to get some food, and they notice paparazzi taking a bunch of pictures of them.
Look at this.
Yes, paparazzi, we were hungry.
Yeah.
We gotta eat, you know.
Can you pull forward to that yellow line?
Not really. There's a guy taking our picture right there. This is Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Hi.
Oh, that must suck. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
But did anyone else find it really interesting how Ryan was super aware of the paparazzi and what the pictures could possibly look like? Because Gypsy was about to eat a fry and Ryan goes, oh no, don't eat that in front of them. As in, like, they could capture an unflattering photo of her eating a French fry. I don't know. That was kind of what went through my mind, but let me know what your thoughts were.
Look, don't eat in front of him.
They're back on the road, and then Gypsy brings up her ex-boyfriend or ex-fiance, Ken, that he reached out to her stepmom to check up on Gypsy to see what she was up to. Okay.
Guess who texted Christy this morning? KU.
No.
Yes.
Mother.
And then we learned that Ken and Gypsy were together for 2 years before she went to prison, and he proposed to her. So they were engaged when she went in. But unfortunately, he broke her heart, he broke the engagement, and then she met Ryan after. So Ryan's very confused as to why the stepmom, her name is Christy, is even telling Gypsy about the ex. Like, she's married now, she has a new man, she has a new life, she has a new future. Why is she telling Gypsy that Ken reached out? You know what I mean? Like, I kind of get where he's coming from. So they're hours into the drive and paparazzi are still following them, still taking photos of them. They finally get to Louisiana and it's December 30th and it's her first day home in Louisiana. She talks about how self-conscious she is about her body because she has scars all over from having unnecessary surgeries.
I'm self-conscious because I have scars all over my body. And I had a lot of surgeries that were unnecessary. I would have never done this 3 years ago, me wearing athletic wear, because it shows my feeding tube scar. So I wear it proudly in my picture. Like, this is a part of me.
Yeah, I really liked that she was able to just address her insecurities and show them and say that she's working on them. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. Like me personally, I know you guys only see me in a potato filter, but I actually have pretty bad acne and acne scarring, hyperpigmentation. It's something that I've struggled with for so long. I'm actually going to show you guys a real picture of my skin, okay? So just wait for it. And on months where my acne is the worst, I don't even want to go outside. And I know some of you are going to ask, then Poe, how are you going to get any help for that if you won't go outside? Well, lucky for me, there's a platform called Nurex. Pow! What's Nurex? I've never heard of it. It's an online healthcare platform that allows you to get treatment from a licensed medical provider. So for me personally, my issue was in dermatology. So I went to their website, I completed their medical assessment, and I also submitted pictures of my skin. And don't worry, they're going to tell you exactly how to take your pictures. And then they matched me with a healthcare provider. Afterwards, she reviewed everything and then she made a personalized treatment plan for me. And then I got all my prescriptions in the mail. I was like, oh my God, this process is so much better. Normally, I would have to call the dermatologist's office and then make an appointment that's usually 2 or 3 months out. And then when I get there, I have to wait in the waiting room and then they take me back to a room and then I have to wait again. It's just a lot of waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And I just don't have time for that. So thank you, Nurex, for sponsoring this video and also making this whole entire process seamless, easy, and convenient. You guys take control of your health right now. It starts today. Go to nurex.com/mythoughts to get started or click the link in my description. That's nurx.com/mythoughts. And another thing she mentions in this episode is she was curious about her sexuality, so she questioned whether or not she was bisexual, and she also experimented with that in prison. I learned another new thing. You're actually not allowed to pleasure yourself in prison, and I just don't understand how men are able to survive. Like, do they go somewhere in private and then do it? Someone let me know in the comments because that is something I'm genuinely curious about. Okay, so anyway, her parents come to visit Louisiana. They celebrate her freedom. It's very sweet. It was very heavy on the celebration and like, oh, you know, I'm so happy. This is my new life. This is my new future. Cheers. You know, it's all wholesome and nice. Then she teaches us how to make a drink called the Rack.
Show you how to make a prison-style energy drink with only 4 ingredients.
And apparently it's coffee, soda, and Jolly Ranchers, and I actually saw her video on TikTok about this.
So, the first thing you'll need is a bag of Jolly Ranchers, Kool-Aid Hawaiian Punch singles, a strawberry Fanta, and Folgers instant coffee. Alright, so you just pour your Fanta in there. It's pretty good.
And it's the jail version of an energy drink, and I kind of want to try it to see if it's good or not, but Ryan tried it and he thought it was disgusting. But she made it seem kind of good. She was like, ooh, so good. Yeah, this drink is fire.
If you're brave enough, try this. And if you're super brave, instead of using the Fanta, use a Red Bull. That will take this on like 10. So
I kind of want to try it. And if I do try it, I'll report back. Or how about you try it and then you report back to me and let me know how you like it. Gypsy wants to look for a dog because she's always wanted a dog and she really wants a puppy, and she's very anxious about having to stay at home alone because she's never had to be home alone. If you think about it, she's always been, quote, sick in her mother's care. And Ryan has to go back to work eventually, and she's really anxious about that. So she's looking at dogs online, and he's very apprehensive about the furry friend. He doesn't want the furry friend because they live in a very small apartment, and he just doesn't think it's a good time right now. And this is where things start to get a little weird between the two. He puts his phone down, and then he leans over towards her and then looks at her phone, like behind her shoulder as she's scrolling. And she kind of leans away from him and she's like, "You're hovering again." And he gets up and he tells her he wants her to have a dog, but it's a lot of responsibility. And she's like, "It's fine. I stay home all day while you're at work, Ryan." Okay, so you sure you want a puppy? Like you want a puppy? And you can tell Gypsy's really annoyed by the way she's responding. And I feel like she hasn't gotten over the hovering that like triggered her, and now she's pissed. I don't know if he could feel the awkward tension and he's trying to relieve it now, because he's like, "So what are you gonna name it?" And Gypsy goes, "We haven't even picked one out yet." And he goes, "How about we call it hormonal?" "I'm not hormonal, I'm a woman, okay?" "How about we name it woman then?" Ryan, that's not funny. God, you just want to piss her off even more? He keeps trying to convince her not to get the puppy. So he's like, you're going to have to walk it around the apartment and we don't have a lot of space. You're going to have to pick up the poop and the pee and it's just going to be a lot of work. And she's so freaking annoyed. She's like, I'm not an idiot. Okay, I know how to take care of a dog. I didn't say you were an idiot, babe. And then she gets up and goes outside. She's so frustrated. She's over him and she just needs some fresh air. She makes it clear that she doesn't like being treated like a child. She knows a dog is a lot of responsibility and she's willing to do it. And when people treat her with kid gloves, it just reminds her of her mother. Now, this might be an unpopular opinion. Ryan was very annoying, but I didn't really get patronizing vibes from this conversation. I feel like he could have said it in a better way, but everything he said was true. He just wants to make sure she's ready for this new lifestyle. You know, I've heard things from my parents when I was debating getting a dog. They were like, it's going to be so much work. You're going to have to do this, this, and that. And I didn't hear it as being treated with kid gloves, being patronizing, condescending. I was just like, oh, yeah, I know. Like, you're reminding me of how much work this is going to be. But I guess it might be different for a Gypsy because she has that traumatic past. So yeah, maybe it's not fair for me to say that. Anyway, Ryan eventually apologizes to her. It seemed very sincere and they make up. Now let's talk about episode 3 because that's where things started getting really good. So it's January 3rd, 2024, 6 days after her release. Gypsy's realizing how much of a big deal she is on social media. Like every single comment she makes is being analyzed and talked about. During this time, Ryan was being roasted by the public. They were calling him Peter Griffin. They were telling him he wasn't all that. He's weird. And then Gypsy replied to one of the mean comments and she said, well, the D is fire. So that's where the D is fire. That's where that comment comes from. So Ryan's like, baby, thank you so much for having my back. And she goes, oh my God, you want to know who's probably so pissed right now? Ken, my ex. And I love it.
You know who's probably seeing this? I am so mad. My exes. Love it.
Don't even get me started on them, baby.
First of all, why do you love it? That's weird. Why does she keep bringing Ken up? Like he's in the past. He's over with. Stop bringing him up, especially to your new husband. That's just my opinion. And it was really weird that she kind of got joy out of it, knowing that he was watching her be so famous and her relationship, her new marriage is so successful and the D is fire. It gives her joy. That was just a weird comment to make to your husband. So they're headed to New York City to do some interviews. And this is, I think, the beginning of her big media tour that she did. But first, she has to meet with her PO. And that meeting is giving her so much anxiety because she wants everything to go right. And she wants to be approved so that she can go do all her interviews. The meeting ends up taking so much longer. And now they have less time to catch their flight. Gypsy and Ryan are so stressed. They have to rush to make their flight. And while they're in the car and the driver is driving them to the airport, she gets a call from her media rep. And they tell her she has to catch that flight. And if she misses it, the Good Morning America interview is gone and they can never get it back for her. They tell her, you have to throw all your checked luggage in and immediately just go through TSA and get on that flight. And she's telling Ryan this. And Ryan goes, oh, hell no. I need my meds. My meds are in my checked-in bag. Why wouldn't you put your meds in your carry-on bag? And he's like, well, I didn't think of that, blah, blah, blah. And remember, the media rep is still on the phone. So Gypsy tells them, okay, we're going to do our best. And Ryan goes, no, we're not. I'm like, Ryan, shut the fork up. Shut up. Okay, this is her interview that she wants to get to. All right, so shut up and just do what you're told.
If we have to, we will.
No, I have to have it. Baby, we got one set of clothes. Like, what do they want us to do?
I know. All right, we're going to do the best we can.
No, we're not.
All right, I will.
No, we're not.
Okay, bye.
Baby, no, we're not.
He's not helping the stressful situation at all. All right, he's so annoying. He tells the driver, come on, you gotta go faster, faster. We can't miss this flight. Faster, faster, go. No, you're supposed to go on this lane, that lane, that lane. And Gypsy's like, relax, just let the man drive. Oh my God. And that whole scene stressed me the fork out. Well, fortunately, they make it to New York City. and they're in a hotel room that looks very familiar to me. I'm actually pretty sure I've stayed there before. It looks like the Intercontinental in Midtown by Times Square. I actually stayed there for a weekend because they were near the two theaters that were playing the Broadway musicals that I was watching. I saw Lion and Wicked that weekend. That was a side note that nobody cares about. So she's getting her makeup done. They have a gorgeous, beautiful view of the city. And then they have a car to pick them up. And they're driven to the show. And there's still paparazzi. There's a bunch of fans screaming her name, wanting to get selfies with her. I mean, it's wild, honestly. And Ryan, he looks more like her manager than her husband. He's just like, no pictures right now. Gypsy's busy. She's going on an interview. No, we'll do it later. Like, he'd be a good manager for her, I think. All right, so she's on The View. She does her interview. And I remember that this scene went viral of that woman going, oh, no, you don't have to apologize for what you did. And Gypsy was like, yeah, I do. The murder. Murder is wrong. The D is fire, but not murder. You know, that whole thing.
So,
Don't say that.
I did.
You had no
I
choice,
did
really.
something wrong, and I paid my dues for it.
Oh, you mean that part?
Yes, the part of it,
Yeah.
that part of it.
I remember that outfit because she did a podcast with Nick Viall and his now wife, Natalie Joy. And they actually show her going to the podcast interview on this show. And I wonder if Nick is creaming his pants right now because of all this attention. I mean, his podcast is so popular, so successful. I don't know how it happened, but yeah, anyway, that's besides the point. I remember listening to the podcast and Gypsy and her husband were talking about Ken. And I just kind of thought it was just silly. She just brought up an ex who just keeps harassing her and wanting her attention. So that's how I perceived it. But now knowing the context and watching their body language, seeing how uncomfortable and upset Ryan is when Gypsy is talking about Ken, and seeing how happy Gypsy is when she talks about Ken.
Sometimes it can help to just be like, I probably didn't need to know that.
Right, didn't need to know that. It's actually funny that you mentioned that because, being open and honest, the day that I got out of prison, Ken texted my stepmom and was like, hey, what's up? I'm like, oh, so now he wants to come around.
No.
And so I told Ryan about it. I was open and I'm like, he's sniffing around.
Why do you think he decided it's time to pop back up?
Because I think now I'm free and I don't think that he has respect for my marriage.
Well, he doesn't like me because I've called him.
He still has my stuff.
He has
he has
stuff of
stuff
hers
of
that he,
mine,
like,
old
holds.
pictures and stuff. If he's sniffing around to try and break me and Ryan up or see if I will leave Ryan to get back with him, this is how I feel about it. If you're not going to be there at my worst, you do not deserve me at my best.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
My opinion has changed. She likes talking about Ken. She clearly still has feelings for Ken. She never got over Ken. Now, this part I did not know before. I don't know if this was public knowledge, but this was the first time I was finding out that Ken broke up with Gypsy after the media got word that they were engaged. And now all the attention was on Ken. Can you imagine how stressful that must have been? He's a very private person. He does not like the media public attention, and he just couldn't handle it, so he broke it off with Gypsy. But Ryan, on the other hand, he embraces the media attention. He's very good with it. I don't think that's a bad thing, but it definitely becomes a problem if he's more into it than she is, and he wants to take the spotlight away from her, Although I'm not saying the spotlight should be on her. I mean, that becomes another whole issue that the spotlight is on her to begin with. But it's so wild to see Ryan just loving the attention, honestly. He's just so natural at it. I remember listening to that podcast interview and I was like, damn, he knows how to talk. He knows how to talk. He was talking more than Gypsy was. And this was supposed to be an interview about Gypsy.
So it's all good.
To keep the spark alive, it's kind of easy when she looks like this. Luckily, right now, Gypsy's trying new things for the first time.
We got to see them walk around Times Square and everybody was recognizing them and they wanted pictures and they were like, Gypsy, we love you. We're so sorry about what happened to you. She was receiving a lot of love. Gypsy again makes it very clear that she does not want to live in the past. She doesn't want people able to pity her either. And it's understandable that she would want to move on from her traumatic past because all she remembers is just horrible, horrible things. But there was something that she said during that time, and I can't remember what interview it was or what podcast. If I can find it, I will insert it here. But she said that she was not a murderer.
I don't associate myself as a murderer because if you think about it, yes, I had a part to play in it. I asked Nick for help. He was saying that he would protect me from anyone. I said anyone. He said yes. I said even my mother. He said yes. The plan kind of formed from there, but he's the one that did the actual kill, not me.
And that really rubbed me the wrong way because you're almost not taking accountability. You're almost trying to separate yourself from the situation. And oh God, there's so much nuance to this. I don't want to get into all of that because it's just too much for my brain and I don't want to think that hard. I mentioned in my last recap, I have a lot of sympathy for her. In my opinion, the way I see it is she was a villain. I mean, she was a part of the murder of her mother, but she was also a victim. So it's very complicated. A lot of people love her, a lot of people hate her. Then Gypsy and Ryan get into their hotel room. They're winding down from all the interviews, and she talks about how she wants a lot of things, and when she wants them, she will get them. And then he's like, oh God, babe, that kind of sounds really bad. Like you sound like a spoiled brat. And she goes, yeah, but the things I want aren't very expensive. Well, except for the Christian Louis Vuittons. She calls them Christian Louis Vuittons, and I thought it was really adorable. Ryan had to correct her, and he was like, no, they're Christian Louboutins, not Louis Vuitton. I mean, Louis Vuitton is a thing, but it's something else. And she's like, no, it's Christian Louis Vuitton. You want to bet? So she goes into her phone, she Googles it, and she realizes it's Christian Louboutins. So remember we talked about how Gypsy's just getting praise after praise after praise, but things start to change, okay? The people who were praising her think she's getting a little too much praise. The people who used to love her think that she's getting a little too much love. You know, this always happens with people who start to get very, very popular. The tides start to turn. I don't know why it happens, but it always happens. It always happens. Like, don't you agree? When an influencer, let's just say, starts to get too popular, too successful, then people get angry. They're like, oh no, she's out of touch now. She's not relatable. She's making too much money. No, we got to tear her down. I'm not saying that this is exactly what happened to Gypsy, but there's parallels, you know? She's getting a lot more hate comments. She's getting a lot more death threats. I found the part where she was talking about, you know, one of the social media hate comments, and a common one that she gets is that she's fat. She's overweight, she's too chunky, she needs to lose weight, go on a diet, eat a salad. And it was so sad to me because she talked about how for the majority of her life, her childhood into her young adulthood, when her mother was alive, she was malnourished. She did not eat. She did not get proper nutrition. And so how crazy is it that now people are telling her, knowing her background, that she used to be malnourished, eat a salad, lose some weight. That is so bizarre. I mean, that part was wild to me. And I gotta say, I did enjoy the part where she wanted to embrace her body. You know, she has a lot of scars from her feeding tube and stuff. And she used to be very insecure about those things, but now she wants to embrace it and no longer be insecure. Now, in the preview for the next episode, oh girl, it gets interesting because we see Gypsy and her stepmom talking about Ken again. Damn, are they going to talk about Ken in every single damn episode? And she starts crying. And Ryan gets very upset because she wants to talk to Ken. And we already know she and Ryan are divorced and she is back with Ken. So did she ever really like Ryan? Did I say Ryan or Brian? Did she ever really love Ryan? All right, well, I'm excited for episode 4. Let me know if you guys want me to keep recapping, keep talking about it. And obviously, I want to know all your thoughts about this because people are so divided on Gypsy Rose Blanchard. So tell me your thoughts and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.
Bad bitches in a beamer, that's a big deal. Chrome heart got me kissing on his best friend. Put in work, baby, you could be my best man. Sending cash to my account, he investing.